8 p.m. Eastern on the Sire Studios digital network. That is secretsofthesire.com, youtube.com/Sire Studios, facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire, and twitch.tv/Secrets of the Sire. And then you can download us on all major podcasting apps, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, you name it, we're on it. We have our podcast live. Happy birthday to both of us was last week, but we actually get another birthday gift because we welcome Brian Volk-Weiss of The Toys That Made Us on this week's episode, talking Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, wrestling, season 3 of The Toys That Made Us, and more.
That's pretty awesome.
Which is going to be pretty awesome. We also have a live event coming December 28th. That is our Star Wars live event. 2 more episodes. We've got our 200 episode spectacular at the Starlight Runner Studios. And right now you can go to SireStudiosInc.com/Kickstarter and it will take you to the Descendant Kickstarter, which is now officially live. And oh, by the way, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. Big happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I am your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my cohort in crime, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir?
Okay.
That is a lengthy open.
Yeah, a little bit. I was falling asleep.
We're gonna definitely talk some more Baby Yoda. We're gonna definitely talk some Watchmen. We're gonna talk a whole bunch of stuff, but I wanted to bring this out to you. Season 3 of Toys That Made Us. We got Brian Volk-Weiss coming on a little bit later. These are my original Mutant Ninja Turtle comics that I drew in 5th grade. There's Mr. Shredder right there. Oh, there they are. I wasn't much of a colorist.
Funny.
I wasn't much of a colorist there.
Pretty fantastic right there.
There's Krang, Brain Drain. This is I literally am just showing you 2 of 40 that I drew.
You did 40 issues. You did like an entire.
Yeah,
wow.
Maybe like 38, something like that, but approximately 40. Yes. And then I moved
38,
on to,
but the last 2 issues are missing. Like you actually have 40, but the archives only have 38.
I actually have a couple where I just drew the cover and then I never finished the book. So
you did a very short run of issue 39 and 40, and that's why there's very few of them in circulation out there.
The Turtles, and we talked about this, off air a little bit. I mean, the Turtles for me is what got me into comics, period. And then to go from the, cartoon to the Archie comics, then to learning about the Mirage comics was the equivalent of learning that there was a radio version to a rap song and an uncensored version to a rap song. And it was an amazing experience, and it forever kind of shaped everything. So again, so excited. The episode was awesome.
Heroes in a Half Shell, man.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't even try to come up with something that clever. Off the top of your head.
No one can.
Heroes in a Half Shell. That's. I just remember that. I remember that cartoon. I remember not being convinced about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles until I saw that cartoon, and I was like,
yeah.
Nah, okay, this works. This is working.
No, it's amazing. It was amazing to me, and the Eastman Laird story, as layered as it is, was awesome, and it took me back, but it also kind of moved me forward too, and just the impact that you can have doing all the stuff that we love doing,
Yeah, I did very much like. How in depth it went into Eastman and Laird themselves and how they created the Turtles, Yeah,
and you were even saying, it's a different way of doing it that they don't normally do in Toys That Made Us, but for that one,
yeah, it was wonderful. It really was. I love a documentary anyway, especially about people creating IPs and things that become really popular and really famous.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just that was gold for me. It really was,
Yeah,
and it's also the little bit of that little bit of cathartic sadness, about people trying to start fledgling, companies fledgling, trying to follow their dreams, and they keep hitting walls and nothing kind of works out, and they were depressed. I mean, I'm not even spoiling it because there's so much more to it, but they were depressed and they started doodling, and they come up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is fantastic. You can't write that stuff.
No,
that's
no.
fantastic.
You hope. It's funny. You hope when you're creating that all of a sudden you're telling the documentary of your own life in your head as you're creating, like, this is gonna be the greatest thing. Oh my gosh, this is good. Could this be the moment that I'm creating?
Is this the next big thing? Is this the next big thing?
And then you're stuck hosting a middling podcast instead. Brian K. Volk-Weiss coming up a little bit later, but first, did I say Brian K. Volk-Weiss? It's just Brian Volk-Weiss. Brian K. Vaughn. Merging genius. But first, we start with our Sire Bites, which, by the way, is now becoming our opening credits. Yeah, that's it. We're nixing the Sire Bites. I like the dog sound, but we're going opening credits. In theme, though, Baby Yoda toys coming for Mandalorian fans in time for Christmas. This is from the New York Post. Get ready for the fight over Baby Yoda toys on Black Friday. Disney is said to be launching merchandise of the child, the adorable big-eyed new character that captured everyone's hearts in The Mandalorian just in time for holiday shopping, CNBC reports. Dubbed by adoring fans as Baby Yoda, the newcomer all but lends itself to mass market appeal, so Disney plans to cash in as popular this popular newbie as quickly as possible. The one note about it, though,
Groot. Nothing beats Baby Groot.
News of Mandalorian merch comes just after the show's executive producers Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni told Entertainment Tonight the character was kept under wraps to avoid spoilers. We really wanted to have it be that you had to watch it yourself, so that every time you watch the show, there are new twists and secrets that come out. Part of that was holding back on some of the merchandise and holding back on some of the characters. So
good move. Good move.
So your Mandalorian fix, your Baby Yoda fix of the day, you will get it. Because actually Hollywood Reporter was reporting there's Bootleg. Baby Yoda Bootleg merchandise has hit online officially as well, too. So you be careful that you're getting an authentic Baby Yoda that may or may not be Yaddle's baby.
Yes, it is Yaddle's baby. Damn it.
Dude, it's funny. I mean, you're like a groundbreaker. As soon as I saw that, people are coming out of the woodworks, Yaddle this and Yaddle that, and there's this chart now. With the two
because you know why? You know why you didn't have the inside track on that? Because you're not a prequels fan, baby. You need your resident prequels fan to be able to lay Waddle down on you.
You are the MVP of our show.
Boom, boom. Don't tease me, man. That's not funny. That's not funny.
But all this Star Wars talk,
wrong,
and all the positivity over the Mandalorian leads me into my next story, and this is what we're really kicking off the show with here, because this I thought was pretty interesting. Star Wars uncertainty extends to Kathleen Kennedy's Disney future. Now, she recently did a Rolling Stone interview. It actually came out last Thursday, so it was after we went on air last Wednesday. It's an in-depth interview with Kathleen Kennedy and talking Disney's future, but she was also talking just in general. And it starts off with this, and I want to get your reaction to this because I think this is one of those things that all of a sudden just popped up like wildfire on the internet. Rolling Stone asked, "Is this final entry in the trilogy a particularly hard nut to crack?" And she goes, "Every one of these movies is a particularly hard nut to crack. There's no source material. We don't have comic books. We don't have 800-page novels. We don't have anything other than passionate storytellers who get together and talk about what the next iteration might be." Huh? Does that not? Now, unless she's just specifically saying that the extended universe is not official George Lucas, so there isn't anything to go about on. Is that just the most, I want to use the word clueless, but I know there's a harsher term for it that's more in line. Like, is she thinking in a vacuum? Is she answering in a vacuum?
Pretty sure she means that unlike Game of Thrones or MCU, there's not 50 years worth of material that they're adapting. So they have to come up with everything from scratch in order to make it work. Now, look,
oblivious. Oblivious is the word. Oblivious comment. Go ahead.
No, it's not really. It is, but it isn't. It's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate comment because we all know what she means.
I literally did not know what she meant when I read that. I really didn't.
Well, in the context of adaptation, right?
Yeah.
if you made a business decision, and we don't know whose decision it was to decanonize the EU, even though a lot of the EU wasn't canonized anyway. But I mean,
right.
Ultimately, they made the decision to exercise the entire EU, right?
Yeah.
We don't know if that was her decision or not. She's the head of the company, so she's going to have to take the bite for that anyway.
Right.
But when you make a business decision to destroy all this other material so that you could forge your own material, which I think for a lot of licensing reasons Disney kind of had to do.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these authors and a lot of these other, Lucasfilm came up with a lot of this other stuff. They'd have to pay out a ton of people in order to. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know if Lucasfilm exclusively owns Grand Admiral Thrawn, or that they have to share it with Timothy Zahn, because he kind of came up with it. I don't know what the licensing situation of that is, but I do know that they have to share accolades with a lot of people. So they decided not to do that. They decided to have everything licensed in-house so that they could come up with their own stories and go forward with that. That is a business decision. I don't agree with the decision.
Here's the thing.
I'm not a big proponent of that decision, but that's basically the decision that they made. And therefore, from that perspective, they're going to start forging ahead creatively. And that in that context, in that contemporary context, they are correct in saying, if we're making this stuff up as we go along, we do not have any books and novels and stuff like that to adapt. That is the way they're looking at it. Now, of course, because everything she says is venom, is grist for the mill, right? It's fuel for the hive mind, the outrage. And I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve it, but it's fuel for the outrage mechanics. That, of course, it's going to be bad. Of course it is. But I mean, we all know what she meant.
The
it's
thing
like the
about
Scorsese thing all over again. You know what he means. He just
but Scorsese, I knew exactly what he meant. Kennedy, it sounded like she was oblivious to the very property that she's supposedly in charge of.
She's the head of.
And
I'm not even
get it, but I get it. Look, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
No. I'm not saying it.
Right.
That's just a situation. I'm not defending it. I am painting the situation. We know what she means.
You don't have an answer to this question, and I know you don't, but this is, and I don't either. Decanonizing something, does that actually prohibit you from using things that may have been?
No, it doesn't.
That's what I'm saying. So you do have all this. I mean, you even had George Lucas hand you notes and say, "This is how I think it should go. Let's see what you do." And they've just, her especially.
But like, all I'm saying is, from a business perspective, she's right. We don't have anything. They made a creative decision to not utilize any of that material, and thus they are going to forge ahead. I'm not saying that they were deprived of this stuff. It was still a decision that they made.
Yeah.
But if you're going by the business decision that they made, that she's absolutely correct. There is no source material anymore because they got rid of it all. But like I said, it's an unfortunate statement. It was an ill-advised, unwise statement. None of them should speak, really. Well, everything that they say.
Don't press send on your mouth.
Yeah, everything they say just kind of, every time you're playing defense, defending yourself against decisions that were made or whatever, it's like what's that comment? Ultimately, a siege mentality is a fatalistic mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you just decide, okay, look, the enemy's outside and they're everywhere, so we're just gonna hunker down here and eat whatever supplies we have left and hope that this thing blows over by the time we run out of supplies or we figure something out. That's a siege mentality. But basically, Lucasfilm has taken on a siege mentality where they're constantly trying to explain the decisions. And look, they don't really have, other than Solo, financially, they don't have a lot to have to answer for. But I mean, the writing is on the wall. Like, of course, a lot is riding on the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah,
that movie doesn't do great. I mean, like gangbusters. everyone's just going to paint it as the biggest failure, even if it makes a decent. I mean, Solo made a decent chunk of money. I mean, but by the time you get through with the reshoots or whatever, it kind of broke even. But I mean, Solo still made a good amount of money. It just wasn't enough for it to be a hit. So Star Wars is on a completely different level than a lot of these other movies. You know, they're calling they call Into the Spider-Verse a hit, even though it didn't make a ton of money, because comparatively, you know, in the market,
lower expectations.
Lower expectations. It's in the animated market or whatever. So therefore, you know, it is not everything needs to make $1 billion for them to say that this is a gangbuster hit. You know, this is a runaway hit. Star Wars is a completely different category. Just like James Cameron's Avatar. If Avatar comes out and doesn't decimate all, it's going to be seen as a failure, even if it's a great movie. You know, because it's got to, you know, because it didn't do as well as Cameron's other movies. So it's you know, they've got a siege mentality. She says
these comments. And she says these comments amidst her own uncertainty. This is from Hollywood Reporter. The Lucasfilm chief has a director lined up for the 2022 film, even as she has yet to settle on the direction for the marquee franchise's evolving mythology or her own future. It's fair to say that when Rise of Skywalker opens December 20th, some will be waiting with knives out to see what comes next. Sources say Kennedy. Sources say Kennedy has a film on deck for 2022. But not the one being developed by Last Jedi filmmaker Rian Johnson. No announcement is planned until January for that one.
I think that's over.
Well, it says no announcement is planned until January. This is pretty current writing, at least from Hollywood Reporter. Creating a new mythology is, of course, the challenge that Disney faces with Star Wars. Kennedy is an experienced and competent producer, but she's not a creative visionary. She made her name as a producer for creative visionary Steven Spielberg. So the thing that came up in this is that her future is uncertain, but what it seems to be trending towards, and this will segue into our next segment, is who better than Jon Favreau to play a leading role in charting the course. He has fan loyalty. He is Team Disney as they come, having directed Jungle Book and Lion King. He worked with Kennedy on the all-important effort to launch Disney Plus, and having consulted on, executive produced, and acted in Marvel movies, he is also close with Kevin Feige. So with or without Kennedy, sources say it seems likely Favreau is actually going to be the one who will have a lot of say over the future of Star Wars. And I, for one, welcome that. Mandalorian, I got to tell you, part of me was skeptical.
Mandalorian's a good show. Mandalorian's a good show, just like Force Awakens, kind of a good movie. Nobody has a monopoly on making great decisions, you know? So, like there's all this. Who's going to be the next savior? Who's the messiah of the Star Wars saga?
Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau. I think hands down he has.
I know what you say. I'm explaining to you. I don't agree with you. I think he's doing I think he's going to do a great job doing what he's doing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be able to save the entire franchise. Everybody makes a great decision. The Force Awakens was a great decision.
Right. You don't think Mandalorian is I think personally I enjoyed we're up to chapter 3 now. I feel like it's the first act of the movie, and that's what we kind of got through. I think there's even 9 episodes, correct? Is it 9 or is it 8? I can't even remember, but I think it's 8 too. But I mean, essentially this is the first act of the movie. We get to, kind of be introduced to the character. I thought the first episode was okay, but I think it's just gotten better every single episode after that. I thought the scene where... So. What's that?
You should hope so.
Well, but some things come out, and again, it's kind of got that glossy, glittery, brand new, feel to it, or tugs at your, nostalgia strings. Foreshadowing for our next segment. And there's all these kind of things where, you kind of get hooked by the thought of what this could be, and then as the episodes progress, you're kind of like, all right, well now this is it. I'm not into it because the potential did not meet the expectations, or the actual execution didn't meet the potential. This is actually starting to do it. I thought the scene where Yoda Baby Yoda is brought into the room. It actually sent chills because it felt like watching Empire Strikes Back again, where you actually I sensed real foreboding danger in a Star Wars movie, and I haven't felt a presence like that in a long time.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So far, Favreau's making good decisions. We'll see.
You keep using the word decisions. Why do you use the word decisions as opposed to like he's making a good product or he's making a good show or he's making...
Because we're not talking about him in the context of being a creator. You're talking about him in the context of running things, taking over from Kathleen Kennedy after it's over. So he's going to be the decision maker, right?
Yeah.
So we're judging on his ability to make great decisions, that he's going to be a good successor to inherit the Star Wars mantle because of the creativity that he's doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I'm also talking about the creativity of Mandalorian.
Yeah, but creating a show is not running a business. So it's not quite the same. Being creatively viable is not the same as running an entire multi-billion-dollar corporation and making command and creative decisions.
Well, I don't think he's going to take over her specific role. But I do think he's going to steer the ship, though.
Wouldn't that be making decisions? What does steering the ship mean to you?
I think in terms of he's not going to be recruiting directors. He's not going to be recruiting other, creative types to work. But I think he'll be involved in the creative discussions going forward. I think he'll help steer
maybe
that's a good thing,
and maybe it's not.
What's your take? What's your prediction? Sure to go wrong. Based on what you've seen of his work in general. And so far, The Mandalorian, which, by the way, even down to the scene transitions, has that Star Wars feel to it that I think a lot of fans were missing in at least The Last Jedi, at the very least.
What is your question?
My question was, your prediction sure to go wrong. I mean, if Jon Favreau is steering the ship creatively.
So but okay. Because you keep kind of moving the goalposts. What does steering the ship mean?
Creatively,
steering the ship.
Creatively,
yeah, but what does that mean? Like the future movies
the universe,
and television shows?
Where are the storytelling? Where are the story? Like if he's steering the story direction for the universe, be it in movies and TV.
Wasn't 5 minutes ago everybody's go-to guy Dave Filoni?
Dave Filoni too, but yeah.
But now it's Favreau. You see what I'm saying about the fickleness of the?
No, I think both of them have earned the cred now.
I know both of them, but you're talking mainly about Favreau because Favreau is the flavor of the month, and I'm saying he's making some good choices. He's making some good product. I don't know if that means he's going to be able to save it because there's no saving it. And I don't think any one person. You're not going to be able to save something. Mm-hmm. Star Wars was something that was written by one guy, right, for the most part,
mm-hmm.
and then it got bought by a corporation that tried to committeeize,
mm-hmm.
which is not a word, the creative process. And you find out that doesn't really work for Star Wars. It does work for other things. It doesn't.
I'm not a committee.
For Star Wars. If it doesn't particularly work for Star Wars. So you're gonna try to make one guy the go-to guy from now on to make a lot of command decisions, creative decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That all depends on how extensive his vision is. His vision is this so far. Now, to be honest with you about The Mandalorian is really well done,
mm-hmm.
but it's not very expansive. It's running on this Western motif. It's running
mm-hmm.
on this nameless stranger motif. It's doing really well staying focused on the plot, but it hasn't really broken any brand new ground. It's just given us something that we like that hasn't contradicted everything that came before it and hasn't been so far destroying previously established beloved characters. So it's very safe to love it now because it's not really taking many chances, and it's not even very long. It's not overstaying its welcome. It's staying very, very simplistic narratively. It's staying very straightforward with the goals of the main character versus what he's trying to accomplish versus what his mission is, what his conflicts and challenges are. So I mean, it's nothing I have seen other than these guys know what Star Wars looks like. Nothing I have seen says to me that this guy could tackle the grandiose mythology of the wills and the Force, the depths of the Force and some of these other things that we've seen Star Wars as. Now, that doesn't mean he can't. Of course he can.
You need to see more.
He can.
You need to see more.
I'm just not going to make him the Messiah yet. I'm not ready to decide that he's the answer to all the questions.
Every time he gets new armor on Mandalorian, I feel like he's leveling. I feel like I'm watching a video game. Like when he's leveling up, they're pouring it in. I always feel like I feel like he just completed a board and he's going to the next level. That'd be my one only complaint, that's a little awkward. That little transition on the show. But otherwise,
see what I'm saying? Everybody's armor, no pun intended, is a little rickety. Everybody, no one is perfect. No one's got it. No one's got the perfect vision for everything. Everybody's got a critique for something. So
there's always critiques, yes, and there's loud voices like ours. All right, let us know what you think. Mandalorian is now 3 chapters in. Jon Favreau, is he the savior of Star Wars? Will he be the savior of Star Wars?
Of course everyone's going to say yes, because everybody else is a simplistic nugget. And they're going to
Speaking of simplistic nuggets, this is our Thanksgiving episode. We want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow.
No, I don't care if you have a good Thanksgiving or not.
Hassan, your go-to
I don't care.
Thanksgiving meal.
My go-to?
Yeah.
Macaroni and cheese.
Macaroni and cheese?
Macaroni and cheese.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Out of everything?
Mm-hmm.
All right. When we come back,
I suppose you don't approve. Whatever. Don't ask if you don't want an answer.
We are moving along. Watchmen Watch, episode 6, and I'll tell you what my go-to, which I know you're all dying to know.
Who cares?
Thanksgiving meals.
People
Watchmen
just hope
Watch,
they're going to be eating. That's
episode
the only basic thing.
When we come back. Hi, folks. This is Michael Dolce, host of the Secrets of the Sire podcast and co-creator of Descendant. It's hard to believe, but it has been 10 years since we unleashed Descendant onto the comics world back in 2009 through Image Comics. Covers by Tyler Kirkham and art by Mariano Navarro. Marcus Perry and I co-creating the book. Descendant tells a tale of a counter-terrorist agent, Rain Santiago, who's secretly the descendant of an Incan goddess. She's got these crazy powers she can't control and a past she's been running from her entire life until someone from that past emerges and outs her to her team. With the book being currently adapted into a screenplay and the issues practically sold out across the country, felt like it was the perfect time to collect the series into an 80-page trade paperback. And now you can get in on the action. We've got some great rewards, including bookmarks, buttons, pins, sketches, signed comics, and also one that includes our entire lineup of Sire Studios books, which it means The Sire, Mainstream, Undone, and more. And best of all, the proceeds from this Kickstarter, after the cost of printing, shipping, and for the products themselves, will go directly to artist Mariano Navarro, who stepped up big time and made this thing possible back then. Marcus and I were in awe every week when we would see new pages come in the inbox. And it was truly an honor and a privilege to work with him, and we hope to work with him again soon. So jump on board this 10-day Kickstarter. It's going to run all the way through Cyber Monday and into December. It's only 10 days, so get in quick and help make this happen. Go to SireStudiosInc.com/Kickstarter for more info and to back this incredible project. Goes live November 26th. Thank you. Really appreciate it, and I really hope we can make this happen. welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. We do this every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture. We are brought to you by our beloved patrons, dedicated fans Tom Osa, Craig Caruso, Einar Peterson, Matt Byer, Ashley Haikai, Omar Morales, Brian Phillips, Steve Hovecki, program director Stephanie Dolce, and as always, our Uber fan, Christina Dolce. You just saw the commercial. The Descendant Kickstarter is live. Go check out SireStudiosInc.com/Kickstarter. It's only running till December 6th. The cool part about it, it was my first Image comic ever created, which is awesome. It's the only Image comic I have with my my credits on it. It was co-created by myself, Marcus Perry, and Mariano Navarro. And we are doing the Kickstarter once we cover our initial costs, which is not a very large sum because the book's already done. The rest of the proceeds actually we're going to send over to Mariano Navarro, not because he's in dire need of anything, but he worked so hard above and beyond. He took a huge, massive pay cut at the time to make this book for us, and so I figured it's a good way to throw him a little bone and reward him for all the hard work he did. So go check it out, SireStudiosInc.com/Kickstarter. Okay, diving into Watchmen. Episode 6. We are 3 episodes away from the finale. This was, I think, by far the most captivating, episode since the first episode, because it's shedding light into it's. I think it's one of the first times where Damon Lindelof is actually going and breaking into something that. Essentially, again, if you're using the graphic novel as the basis for this, that is canon, and kind of flipping it on its head. It's something you predicted early on. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing that it happened. Just because something's predictable, it's not a bad thing. But that hooded justice really is Lou Gossett Jr., which, even down to, well, why did they think he was a white guy this whole time? Kind of played into it. So I thought that was actually really, really interesting. Episode 6 is now starting to kind of like a breakneck speed. This is the kind of thing that's funny, though. Is this just modern storytelling now? I feel like they've crammed, I don't know, what could have been like 3 or 4 seasons into 6 episodes. I mean, do you get that feeling when you're watching this?
No. I think they crammed... I think they crammed 3 or 4 episodes into 1 episode.
Yeah.
Not seasons, but episodes, because they wanted to do that slow burn beginning crap where it doesn't begin with it begins in the 3rd act, and it doesn't give you a 1st and 2nd act. It doesn't lead you to anything. It doesn't really build any of the characters. It doesn't explain too much. And doing a lot of non-linear storytelling with things, all over the place. I get it. I mean, that's how you keep people intrigued, whatever. But I don't think that lesson actually holds out. I don't think that holds true, because, as I said before, even though there's a tremendous amount of stuff that happens unseen in Game of Thrones, which is, Robert's Rebellion or whatever, the main story of Game of Thrones starts at the beginning,
right, with
the kids, and then it just shows them going into adulthood and then taking over basically Westeros, right?
Yeah.
So it captivated, and say whatever you want about that 8th season. It captivated people for 9 years. Okay, you can do that. I think everybody's so impatient because nobody has a story. Everybody's got an idea that they think that they can utilize. They could turn into a Game of Thrones-esque story, or something. They're going to take a pre-existing property, and turn it into some kind of soap opera.
I don't get that feeling with this, though. I don't get that feeling with Watchmen. No, I don't. I mean, I really don't. I just think it's this new method of storytelling that like you said, it's the attention deficit, way of telling stories. Is that we have to, because I'm a fan of actually putting a lot of content into your package. Where I remember reading like Bendis comics early on in the 2000s, where it would take 6 issues just to get anywhere. So for them to kind of come to a head is great, but I do think the impact is the impact can be lessened when it's kind of rushed. The one thing
What did I
thought,
tell you though? What did I say?
what, that it wasn't going to pay off, that Lindelof was going to
No.
mess it up? No, I thought I don't. I actually disagree with you. I think so far, I think this
Not going to
episode
pay
to
off.
me.
That's not a big payoff. I mean, that's first of all, that's something we already saw, right? We already saw that coming. All right. So the next thing's going to happen is, theoretically, no spoilers here because this is all in theory.
Yeah.
The big reveal, right? The big mystery was who's Lou Gossett Jr. and how did he hang Crockett, right?
Right.
Right. Well, they gave it away. He hung him with a strobe light.
No, but it's a mesmerizing strobe light. It's much different.
Come on, man. All right, never mind. If that does it for you, that's fine. But there's it.
No, the big reveal to me.
It suggested a profound mystery because the notions of it were so absurd that there must be something profoundly more intricate at work here. And then you find out, well, because of the technology that he managed to steal this technology that was being utilized against people back in the 60s, to the 50s and the 60s, and he's using it to his own. I mean, okay, but that's not a.
To me, the
mystery is like the theory of the mystery is that he says he did it. You think that's impossible. He couldn't have done it,
right?
Because he's too old. And then it shows, he did do it because he's got mind control.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a.
To me, the big reveal of the episode was the scene in the publicity scene with Captain Metropolis talking and where Hooded Justice is like, I've got this thing that's going to, this citywide corruption, and Captain Metropolis says it's Malak, and it's this thing where he's tapping into blah, 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 blah. So that, to me, was the most fascinating part of it. And again, it's fascinating because now
Why is that fascinating?
Because I want to dive back into the graphic novel now, and I want to reread anything with Hood Justice in it.
Try thinking about it as though you haven't read the
No, I get it.
Though.
I get it. I think it's impossible.
So that's not a big thing. That's not really a big thing. That's not. First of all, that thing wasn't even. That wasn't even a mystery until you saw this episode.
Right.
So that can't be the big reveal.
Okay, not reveal. Maybe the big the most interesting part of this episode, I think, was that.
Well, yeah, but I mean everybody's going to choose their own sequence as to
I know, and I just chose that one. The one thing I thought was interesting though, and I'm not sure why this is the case. How do they know that Hooded Justice is gay, but they don't know he's a black guy at the end of the day? And then I thought what I was actually thinking was the gay storyline with Hooded Justice and Captain Metropolis was also fictitious. And then to find out it wasn't was a little
We don't
jarring.
know if anybody knew that they were gay.
Well, no, you know about you know it because of the Minuteman documentary that's going on.
But obviously that documentary is false, right?
Well, that's my point.
Obviously.
That's my point, though. The documentary is false. So what I'm thinking is that they learn it through Captain Metropolis in some way, shape, or form. Through evidence.
They said that they learned it, that they found all this videotape, all this stuff in his house.
I guess.
That's basically what they said. That's how the two cops supposedly found out about him, because they found all this stuff in his house. And they revealed that he was homosexual.
No, I get it. But then I guess they have. Oh, I guess, yeah. I guess then when they have their costumes on, he's filming it. That's the only way I could. Mm-hmm. That's the only way I can think about it in that sense. But even that I thought was a little jarring. I don't know. It's just one of those things. It was.
Why is it jarring? All right. Okay.
No, it was just one of those jarring.
I don't know why it's jarring. Okay, it happens.
No, because it was one of those things where I just didn't see that coming. That was not actually a pun. I didn't mean it to be a pun. One story that was actually kind of out there too during all this was Alan Moore's birthday. Was 2 weeks ago, I think. Might have been the same day as ours because Scorpios, yay. And they brought up an old quote about how superhero comics are destroying. Almost very Scorsese-like, actually, superhero movies, and it's this prolonged childhood, and kind of actually bashing something that's probably made him lots and lots of money. And I can't help but think, I'm like, I feel like he would actually be into the show, though. I feel like I don't know why. I feel like he would not be upset that, even though he's very upset they're even doing anything Watchmen at all. But I don't know. I feel like he'd be into this a little bit. I don't know why.
I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it. You don't get far betting on whether Alan Moore is going to like your adaptation of his work.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't end well. It doesn't lead to good things.
It's interesting too. I mean, really bringing the Ku Klux Klan into everything for some reason. That I thought was also was. I mean,
it was a big deal at that time. I mean, I don't know. We don't really know if the Rorschachs are an offshoot, if the cavalry is an offshoot of the Ku Klux Klan. We don't really know what the cavalry is yet.
Yeah.
And we're given hints that it's probably a little bigger than what everybody thinks they are.
Right.
You know? That's another thing that I'm talking about this. Like, okay, you know, can we... I mean, they're not going to reveal that until, if they reveal it at all. We're not going to see anything about that until, like, the last episode.
Yeah. I'm very curious to see the scenes for next week. They got the trial of Adrian Veidt. It's the first episode he hasn't been in at all.
Mm.
I find that to be...
yeah.
You're so down on this show. You're so down on it. You're so down on it. I like it. I think there's...
Is there something wrong with being down on it if I didn't like it? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I figured.
Terrible. It's like liking mac and cheese as your favorite Thanksgiving dish.
I'm not down on it at all. I'm down on the creators who have created it. I'm down on the way that they're disseminating the story. I'm down on how the story is rolling out because I don't think there's a lot of story here. And then I could see very clearly that there's not a lot of story, and it's all predicated on the cleverness with which it is told, as opposed to what the story is about in and of itself. And I'm saying, personally, I don't find that very satisfying. I don't think it's very clever to tell a non-linear story. You know, I just don't. You know, that may reveal my snob in me, you know, that I just don't feel like it's a non-linear. I don't find it intriguing, you know. I mean, look, we're how many episodes in? We're 5 episodes.
6 episodes.
Right?
No, it's 6 episodes.
We're 6 episodes in, right? We finally found out that the main mystery from episode 1 was done with a strobe light. Okay, we still don't really know what the significance is, what Angela's significance is. We don't know what the significance of the fact that she adopted these children that seem to play a prominent role in the first few episodes and now have faded back into nothingness. We don't know what Lori Blake is, her significance.
No, she adopted the kids of her partner who
yeah, I know that. Killed. But I mean, like I said, they showcased them as though they were going to play a larger role in the development of the story, and they've taken a complete backseat to it, right? Like, I'm talking about the information they're giving us versus the payoff to the information that we're being given. We're being given it very front-loaded with a lot of stuff that they're handing us, and then they're just not rolling that story out in any manner that it's not very fulfilling. It's very empty. Yeah. Like, okay, we figured out Adrian Veidt 3 episodes ago, right?
Right.
We don't know exactly the details of what he's, you know, we don't know what he's on trial for. We don't know exactly where he is, probably on the moon, but we don't know exactly where he is, right? But we figured that out a long time ago. So that's not really a revelation, right? We kind of figured out Hooded Justice. So that's not really a revelation. I
think Adrian Veidt is actually in that statue of himself. That's my prediction.
Okay.
That Lady True is actually keeping him locked away.
How is that a revelation, though?
We
know he's locked up somewhere. We just don't know where. That's not a revelation.
I'm giving my prediction. My prediction.
I don't give a shit about your prediction. I really don't, because you're asking me why I'm down on the show. I'm telling you I'm down. Why? And then you're gonna jump in and tell me what your prediction is about a statue.
I am not down on the show. I'm actually
that's good for you.
Very into it, and I want you to bring your level of excitement back up to where I'm at. No. I thought this episode was actually extremely well done. In
fact, if I thought the show was freaking amazing, just because you demand it, I would not bring my level of excitement back up. What kind of crap is that? I'm not.
I actually also have to say you were wrong last week. Using nostalgia to go through the memories was actually an effective way to bring us up to speed in terms of that. I thought all in all.
I didn't say it wasn't. What did I say?
Last week you had predicted it was going to be this like weird consciousness thing going on, and it actually turned out to be very good.
Exactly, but I didn't say it was going to be bad. But I said exactly what it was. You
had your usual disdain.
Because I don't like the frickin' show. What do you want me to do about it? The typical blah, blah, blah. You know what? Get somebody else in this chair. I don't give a damn.
All right, when we come back, I will divulge my go-to Thanksgiving meal, and we will go spinning
about your meal, dude.
The toy racks, Mr. Brian Volk-Weiss.
Nobody cares.
Toys that made us coming up next.
What I want to feel for Rian Johnson as a creator is that he turned in the most kick-ass Star Wars script that was going to flip the script on the entire saga, and Kathleen Kennedy and everybody else like, no, we can't do this. You know, what else you got? And then he turns into the first draft of the Star Wars fanfic that he did when he was 15 years old. He goes, well, I got this also. And they're like, we'll make this. This is brilliant. Secrets of the Sire.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. I want to wish everyone out there a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. Enjoy your Black Friday deals. Enjoy your Cyber Monday spectacular. Enjoy more Mandalorian coming Friday. My go-to meal, mashed potatoes and gravy. That's an easy one. Easy one. Oh my God. I know I Lindelof
better than macaroni and cheese.
I Lindelofed my mac and cheese could be like any meal.
No, it can't.
Gravy.
No, there's a Thanksgiving mac and cheese. Obviously, you haven't had good mac and cheese.
No, I've had great mac and cheese, but I can have great mac and cheese like anytime I want to.
No, you can't. You can't have Thanksgiving mac and cheese unless it's Thanksgiving.
You know what's highly overrated?
It's made a special way.
Do you know what's highly overrated? The sweet potatoes with the marshmallows on top. Highly overrated.
Because that's gross.
People love that. Well, it is actually delicious, but it's highly overrated. People go nuts over that. People go nuts over that. Another thing.
Okay, let me put it a different way. We don't eat that. By we, I mean black people. We don't eat that.
You racist! How dare you?
Yes, I'm racist because I said black people don't like sweet potatoes and marshmallows. Okay.
Yes. You are you are exacerbating a stereotype and generalizing.
It's not even a stereotype. It's a clarification. It's the opposite of a stereotype.
Next thing you know, you're going to tell me that I'm creating a strobe light that will make you dislike macaroni and cheese. Normally, every week, normally we will go spinning the comic book racks and tell you all the good stuff about comic books that you need to know. But tonight we have a very special guest. And he will be spinning the toy racks with us. That is Brian Volk-Weiss as we go spinning the racks. Spin the rack, spin that rack. Happy to be joined tonight by Brian Volk-Weiss, creator of the toys that made us. He is going to spin the toy racks with us tonight. Brian, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Well, we are doing great, and first of all, let me just tell you, thank you for Season 3 of The Toys That Made Us, because you spotlighted the single greatest toy I've ever seen and I've ever had, which is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, there we go.
Heck yeah.
So, you can settle the debate, because it was as if you knew. Turtles are way better than Power Rangers, right?
You know what? One day I'm going to be retired. You come out, visit me in Montana. You ask me that question again. I'll give you a real straight answer. How about that?
Done.
Yeah, politically,
Done.
he can't come close to answering that question right now.
I am learning the fine art of diplomacy in my old age.
Let's get into the Turtles real quick. Trust me, we were talking Baby Yoda bootleg merchandise earlier in the show. We got a whole bunch of good toy questions to ask you. The story
Baby
of
Groot. Baby Groot.
The story of Mutant Ninja Turtles. To me, it's such a blend of comics and toys to me, because the toys, I think, kind of catapulted what was still a hit comic, but it turned it into the mainstream. So, talk to us about the experience of that particular episode, and what it meant to you, and just what the Turtles are to you.
So the Turtles, it was a very interesting episode because, a lot of what is the differentiating factor with every episode is, if you think about it, does the company involved, have they owned that toy from day one? Did they acquire it at some point? Did they lose the license? So Turtles was a very interesting episode in that, unlike Star Wars, where one man basically controlled everything for a long time up until Disney bought it, Turtles was a hybrid of, basically you had two dudes, and then it was Viacom and Playmates and Nickelodeon. So it was a very interesting thing that for the other 11 episodes, no other episode, no other toy has this in common. There were really two eras of Turtles.
Yeah.
There was the pre-Nickelodeon era and the post-Nickelodeon era, or I should say the Viacom era, after Viacom bought it. So that's where it was super interesting, in that we learned about the early days of Turtles and how they had such an unusual control that was very comparable to what George Lucas had for Star Wars and what Gene Roddenberry did not have for Star Trek. But then he sold it to Viacom, and it became a very different situation. So that was in my opinion, one of the most unique aspects of the Turtles episode.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that too, because my son, he's 3.5 years old, and we have a little Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's like the vintage T-shirt that he wears, and he knows about the Turtles, and it's funny to me because for those characters to have seemingly hit that one-hit wonder status, I guess, is the best. They call it the Summer of Turtles, and all that stuff, and then to come back again. We're finding that with a lot of brands these days, a lot of IPs now. But I mean, were you at the time shocked? I mean, I was shocked when the Turtles just kept coming back, and now are a fixture in the next generation of toy lovers and just kids.
Nothing is more shocking to this day that they're making new Star Wars movies. I mean, I still cannot believe they're making new Star Wars with the original cast and directly connect. I still don't believe that. Turtles is definitely behind that in terms of, I can't believe this is happening. But the thing that's very interesting about Turtles that it does in many ways have in common with My Little Pony, but no other toy, they keep getting up to bat. And even when they strike out, they're like, all right, let's peace out for a couple of years and then try again. Which, by the way, did not work for He-Man. And other than the initial return in the 80s, didn't work for G.I. Joe. Yeah. And to a certain extent, it's still not working and has never worked for Star Wars. Star Trek. So the thing that's very interesting about Turtles is, and like I said, My Little Pony has this in common. Yeah. Even when they strike out, they just go back to the dugout, hang out for a couple of years, and then go back to bat and try. And it usually works.
My Little Pony is fascinating to me too, and that was in the season as well too. That to me has taken on a complete like cult life of its own among adults. I feel like, right? Am I right or am I wrong about that?
I don't. I think, to be completely honest with you, I think it's too big to be considered a cult. I think we're talking about hundreds of millions of people that are into My Little Pony. And what I always say to people about My Little Pony, whenever they think the bronies thing is weird, what I always say is, if you think bronies is weird, that means you have not tried My Little Pony. Because if you try it and you watch it, you will understand very quickly why it's not that weird. It's like finding it weird that girls are into Star Wars. That's not weird. Why wouldn't girls be into Star Wars? My Little Pony, what does it have? It has original characters, great characters, a great villain, a fair amount of villains at this point, by the way, and great storytelling. So here's the thing that's going to sound, and I am not a brony in the slightest, but I will say this.
Yeah.
If you watch a vintage G.I. Joe cartoon or a vintage Transformers cartoon, good luck. They're really simple. And they were supposed to be simple.
Right.
They're made for kids.
Right.
My Little Pony, even going back to the first original run of the cartoon, some complicated shit. Like, it's like really like in-depth. Oh, is there no cursing? Sorry.
No, there is, but we like to go bing after every time there's a curse.
No, not we. It's only he. He likes to do that.
No, you can. You can. That's the beauty of the podcast. You totally can. We just like saying that.
Yeah, he just likes to be obnoxious about it.
Well, yeah, that's our fucking trade.
Here's the good news, guys. Of the 7 days in a week, the day I curse the least is Wednesdays. So this is the perfect day to be doing this. But yeah,
can I make a really quick observation about that, about what you're saying? I think going off of what you were saying about how like G.I. Joe's never been able to make a solid comeback, or He-Man, or some of these other stories, like also the Thundercats, whatever is kind of was big in the 80s, is trying to make a solid resurgence in comparison to the ponies and also the Ninja Turtles. I don't think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and for that matter, My Little Pony, I don't think they have changed in any way. Each and every one of these other franchises has tried some kind of massive overhaul to contemporize themselves.
It's crazy.
And I think the Turtles are still in the sewers. There's still four of them. Every now and then, like you covered, they try to add a fifth one, but that doesn't always work out. And pretty much the stories just stay the same. They just get accelerated through a modern lens. But you could basically start watching them all the way back in the 80s and watch them all the way up to now, and they're essentially the same characters. There's not this great mythological overhaul of everything to try to make it all hip and sexy and modern. And I think that's one of the things that lends to the longevity of it.
Well, let's see how well you've been paying attention to the great classic series, The Toys That Made Us. Can you put let's see, or another way to say it, let's see how good or bad I did my job explaining this. Can you point your finger at why this has happened with the other brands and why it didn't happen with Turtles? Because there's a very simple, singular answer that first of all, I hope I'm saying this right, in the annals, I don't want to say the wrong word, in the history of capitalism, here's a big clue for you. In the history of capitalism, the thing that effed up G.I. Joe and He-Man and a lot has almost never happened before. In the airplane business, in the boat business, in the coffee business, this has never happened before.
You set it up very nicely, and we're gonna crash the landing.
Maybe, I don't know. Was it the fact that I'm probably totally wrong on this. The IP owners actually maintain some creative control of.
Well, that's what happened. That's why you're right about Turtles, because large Playmates. One of the things about Turtles, Playmates, even though Peter and Kevin were out, Playmates was still there and very involved with the cartoons and the movies, and they brought Kevin back too.
Yeah, for consulting.
Exactly.
Who kind of needed it because he didn't make out like a bandit like Mr. Eastman did,
Yes, but I do have to say this, and I don't know either of these guys other than interviewing them for the show. I got no horse in the race. Kevin chose to be bought out. He chose that. Peter did not screw him out. No. A bad decision.
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it that way. I just meant it in the sense that when.
No, I know you did, but that's out there. You got screwed up. I'm like, no, he made a bad decision. But anyway, back to your original question.
He blinked, and Mr. Eastman did not blink, and that's basically.
Well, that's it. But the other thing is, I think partially due to their age difference, I think Peter, who is 10 years older, or at least, he knew how delicate the success was. And he was like, there's no way we're going to do this again.
Right.
Kevin, who was younger, was like, if I could do it once, I could do it twice. I think that was really it. If you listen to what they're saying, that's really what happened. But anyway, no, back to your original point. Hasbro, this giant company, bought a near bankrupt Kenner. And what did they do? They fired all their department heads that had been making successful toys and replaced them with the people that almost bankrupted Kenner. So it was just this very
sounds like a sound business logic. I don't understand.
Well, it's almost unheard of in the history of capitalism to have done this. That's what destroyed G.I. Joe. That's what almost destroyed My Little Pony. Did catastrophic damage to a lot of Kenner's brands. A lot of Hasbro's brands also did a fair amount of damage to Transformers. And in all three of those cases, either people that were working on the brands and were forced into retirement were brought back. Some of them didn't even go back. They were like, go F yourself. I'm not coming back. And then with He-Man, which of course was Mattel, it was slightly different. They were kind of making it up as they went along, and they, you can only be lucky for so long. But yeah, that's back to your original point. I think Turtles was this interesting hybrid between what happened with George Lucas and Star Wars, and then eventually what happened with Transformers with Hasbro.
Now, this season also covers, which I also think is there's almost a theme with a lot of these, with this particular season too, is the wrestling toys. And just, it's another thing where, Hassan and I, not to give away our age, but we grew up in the time.
Don't do it.
Well, you're older than me, so it's okay.
Don't do it.
Where, we can remember the 80s, Hassan probably even clearer than I can.
Oh, boy.
And just how big these things were, and then to see it kind of become this joke and kind of go away from like the public eye and then kind of come back again. I remember in college, my roommates were watching wrestling, and I'm like, what do you mean you're watching wrestling? And there's just this whole new era. I mean, it seems to me like that, it is again one of those amazing comeback stories in a way.
I mean, this happened 2 weeks ago. I mean, and I can tell you the first time I noticed this, I know exactly where I was. But 2 weeks ago, my daughter is 5 years old. I take her to school. This little girl, I don't know her name, 5 years old, comes running up to my daughter to say hello. She's wearing a Bib Fortuna t-shirt. If you had told 10, 13, 15, 20, 30-year-old Brian that one day a girl that wasn't even born, she was in her crib,
Yeah.
When the first J.J. Abrams came out, Star Wars. That she's, by the way, she's not wearing Princess Leia.
Right.
She's not wearing Boba Fett. She's wearing this nasty, gross character who says 7 words in one of the movies on her T-shirt.
And gets slapped around.
I said to, because in my head I'm like, oh, her parents. I go, who's that on your T-shirt? She goes, Bib Fortuna. Fortuna. She goes, Jabba's friend. I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, like that. I mean, think about that, guys.
No,
Bib Fortuna.
It's very far-reaching.
5-year-old girl's T-shirt. She knew who he was and was like 80% right with his job description. Like that's not bad.
No, it's amazing to me the connections, and as parents, that's actually kind of a cool thing though now, because I think in a way parents today can connect through the toys. There's not a new thing really. It's just regurgitating some stuff that we've had, and not in a bad way. I don't mean to say that in a bad way, but that's kind of exciting. Like I'm excited. My dad just brought over a trunk full of my old Transformers, my GoBots,
Nice.
which I still love.
Nice.
My new Ninja Turtle toys too, and I'm sitting there going like, I'm not giving this to him yet, but when I do, it's going to be awesome. Like it's going to be awesome for the two of us, and I think there's something kind of cool about that. All right, we had this debate last week, and we talked about the bootleg merchandise going on. Baby Yoda, is that going to be the Christmas toy? Is that the Christmas toy that everyone's going to be fighting over? Do you think?
Well, it depends on how good or bad you are at finding bootleg stuff.
No, they have the real ones coming now, though. We have the real ones coming, but there's bootleg stuff out there, and the real ones are now announced. Yeah,
I heard the real stuff will not be here before January.
Oh, okay. All right.
So you might know. I'm not saying I do not work for Hasbro or Lucasfilm. You might know something I don't know.
I think it's going to be in time for Christmas from what I was reading.
If that's the case, then that is amazing, and they are going to make so much money, and rightfully so. By the way, I do know they delayed it.
Yes.
And I thought they delayed it until next year. But one of the things that I always find so horrible, everybody always picks on Disney, money, 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 money. They are constantly doing stuff like this to delay massive amounts of money in benefit of a story. Yeah. So thank God we didn't know about Baby Yoda.
Yeah, no, I know. I know. And it really, it's funny too, because, we talked about this earlier in the show too. At first, when you first see Baby Yoda, you look at it, you're just like, well, this is almost like a gimmick. But as so far through 3 chapters, I'm hooked. Like I give in. Like I give in to the Baby Yoda. I can't help but give in to Baby Yoda. We did this last week, and it's good to bring you on here. Baby Yoda or Baby Groot? Which one do you? Which one?
Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda or Boss Baby?
Baby Yoda.
All right.
No, I do like Boss Baby, but by the way, I'll make it even harder for myself.
Okay.
I would go with Boss Baby over Groot.
Oh, I didn't see that coming. I don't think we even had that.
Yeah.
Baby Yoda or Baby from the show Dinosaurs? That's
Baby
an easy one.
Dinosaurs.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Over Baby Yoda?
Cute. So cute. So funny. But by the way, we've only seen 3 episodes. Technically 2. Well, technically 3, but really only 2 with Baby Yoda.
That's true.
Maybe he will out-cute Pink Baby from Dinosaurs. By the way, I don't know if you're aware of this or not with Groot. He only says one thing.
But it's so cute.
It is cute. It is cute. But I definitely, I'm like, I get this, but
he does a lot more.
Baby
Groot does a lot more than every other.
He pushes buttons. He's not supposed to push.
He does a lot more.
There's a lot of
I
things.
am in the minority. Everybody loves Groot. But
all right.
I like Groot a lot. I think he's great. I'm not madly in love with Groot.
Last one, and this is Brian. Well, actually, we'll give 2 more. One is the one we came up with, which was Baby Yoda or Maggie Simpson as best baby.
Baby Yoda.
All right, and Baby Yoda versus Stewie Griffin. That's from our fan Brian Abraham, who pointed out that we forgot to mention Stewie Griffin.
We didn't forget.
Baby-Yoda.
Brian, you are a master. You cut right to the chase. Season 3 is on Netflix now. You're like a very busy man, though.
Awesome.
I mean, you have Toys That Made Us. What other stuff you got going on that you would like other folks to know about?
Well, this coming Friday, the spinoff of Toys That Made Us comes out, the movies that made us. So I hope people give it a chance. We had a lot of fun making it. We're doing a show now for Disney Plus called Behind the Attraction. That's all about the parks and the individual rides. So we're doing. It'll come out next year at the end of the year. We have a big show coming out on History Channel about President Grant. That's going to be 3 2-hour episodes.
Wow.
We just had Mad About You come out last week. We did the reboot of that.
Wow.
We're doing a great show I can't talk about yet with Zac Efron. We're doing a great show I can't talk about yet for BET Plus. We're doing some cool stuff for Discovery. I'm not in my office right now. I like being in my office because then I can look at my wall and I can see what I can talk about or can't talk about. But needless to say, we have some cool stuff. I'm biased. Maybe it's not cool. I think it's cool. We got some stuff coming.
I think it's very cool, and you know it when it does drop, where you can come and talk all about it. Brian Volk-Weiss, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Eat a lot of turkey. What's your go-to? This is our question. What's your go-to Thanksgiving dish?
Dark meat, baby.
Ooh.
Dark meat.
I like that.
If I was allowed to, like, on many levels, I would, like, eat only the dark meat, and nobody else would have dark meat. That would be my move. I can't do that because I'm like the father and all that stuff.
Because that's greedy.
You're not supposed to behave like that.
You're supposed to set an example.
But if I had my druthers, just 8-foot-tall pile of dark meat.
Oh, man. All right. Well, thank you, guys. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into Secrets of the Sire. We will see you next week.
Thanks for